Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. This is City Talk. Nothing unimportant happens there. It's, quote, the greatest hotel in the world. Eloise lunches in the Palm Court, and the Beatles stayed there after Ed Sullivan. Cary Grant got abducted from the Oak Room in North by Northwest, and to Macaulay Culkin, it was Home Alone. And I got engaged there 36 years ago. It's the Plaza Hotel and currently the star of its own blockbuster movie script. It's got it all. Big money, a beloved icon, political muscle, real estate, union rallies and demonstrations. To talk about the Plaza saga is one of its co-stars, Peter Ward, head of Local 6 of the Hotel and Motel Trades Council. And joining us is my CUNY TV colleague, Michael Stolar of the Stolar Report. He's vice president of First American Title Insurance Company and the real estate drama critic for the New York Sun. We'll talk power, politics, and property values. Welcome, Peter. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
It really is a Hollywood script. It's got it all. You were a co-star. Just talk to me. Who were the players and what were they after, and a little bit of the plot.
Before I start, you said nothing unimportant happens there. I got married there 22 years ago.
And I got engaged. Okay, I apologize. Well, in fact, that's exactly what was successful about your strategy, is that you tapped into the emotions of people rather than just simply the economics. But I don't want to go there yet. Talk about the players. Talk about the stakes.
Well, look, the Plaza is the first stake. It's a unique platform. It's something that has worldwide recognition. It means something to our city. And I would argue, and I think have argued successfully in the last 10 or 12 weeks, that the Plaza is a living, breathing part of our city. It's one of those iconic buildings that means something more than just bricks and mortar. It's more than just a hotel. It's more than just a building. It's an important part of our culture, an important part of our history. The location has something to do with it. That more than 200 movies that were shot there has something to do with it. The storied past has something to do with it. The elegance, the grandeur. It's genuinely an amazing place. So we start with the Plaza first and foremost. Right. And then we juxtapose that against the fact that we're going to lose 800 jobs.
Okay, talk a bit, just briefly. What does Local 6 represent? Who does it represent? Give us a little bit of numbers and then move on, and then you jump in, Michael.
My union, the New York Hotel Trades Council, represents 25,000 hotel workers in New York City. Now, we're a unique union in that almost 90% of our members live in the city, and almost 90% of our retirees live in the city. So we're a New York City union by definition. And the jobs that are created in the hotel industry are, in our day and age, among the best blue-collar industrial jobs left in the entire city of New York. Our members have good wages, good benefits, and dignified retirement. And so to lose these jobs at this stage of the game is something that our economy can't take.
Right, and your organization and your members and you as its leader couldn't take.
Absolutely.
But in reality, you have lost members in other hotels. I mean, this year the Sheraton Russell has closed, the Stanhope closed recently. I mean, basically lots of property have been taken over. Why the Plaza as opposed to all the other hotels that have happened?
The Plaza offers a unique platform to shine a light on a greater problem. And the problem is that we have a blip in the real estate market in New York City, a blip that creates extraordinary value for condominiums. As a result of which developers are buying up hotels that have the unique distinction of being in great locations and being able to be delivered without tenants, which makes it easy to convert. And so developers are gobbling up hotels. And
this sounds like rational economic behavior on their part. I mean, this is what they should be doing, right?
Well, business.
It is and it isn't. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the industry itself is, in my view, the recipient of a great deal of corporate welfare. Let me give you an example.
Governmental corporate welfare,
Absolutely.
tax breaks, assemblage, all of that stuff.
You and I have agreed just recently to spend $1.4 billion to double the size of the Javits Center. That expansion is at the behest of, at the request of, and almost for the sole benefit of the hotel industry, who I believe has an absolute obligation not to dismantle their industry now, prior to the Javits Center opening up, after they took the money to expand it. So the other thing is that we can't simply allow one of the few great industries left in our city that provides an enormous tax base. The number 2 tax-producing industry in the city behind Wall Street is the hospitality industry. We can't allow that to evaporate because of a blip in the real estate market.
Okay. But don't we also have another problem right now? With the expansion of the Javits Center, more people will be coming over here. You also have the Jet Stadium. You have the other thing. We don't have enough hotel rooms. I mean, we've lost 3,000 rooms. Forget some of the stories that are there. People haven't really looked at the situation that we've lost. Wait.
Go ahead.
So how are you? Okay, we have all this situation. How do you take care of it? We're not disagreeing. We would have lost 805 rooms over there. But quietly, last month, another 140 rooms were lost at the Sutton Hotel. So these rooms, but where are they being made up? There aren't these large hotels. There aren't these large blocks of land.
Okay, so what's the future here? In other words, you've got some erosion, but didn't Price Waterhouse say that there'd be enough
That was
market demand?
That was a 2-year-old study.
Okay. So we've got a problem, Peter. You've got tremendously increased demand. You've got public policy creating demand. Javits, Jets, we're creating demand.
You also have another thing.
How do you
have the
provide
Euros.
supply?
Do you realize that when we had the gates, the occupancy for the hotel rooms were the highest ever in the month of February?
Look, the hotel industry in 2005 will have the highest average room rates it's ever had in New York City.
Okay.
More than $120 a night on average than the next highest city in the country. And their occupancy averages will be more than 20 points higher projected than the next highest city in the country. They will break records on average occupancy and average daily room rates. Despite that, there is going to be contraction in the number of rooms in the city because of this anomaly that exists in the real estate market.
So you're saying irrespective of any market-driven growth, the net effect will be negative?
This is an example.
This is an example of the...
Which hurts you, your union, and puts a brake on economic growth.
This is an example of the market being broken. And the market doesn't always work.
Okay, how do you fix it?
Well, we think legislation has to be enacted that limits conversions in hotels to condominiums for a limited period of time.
Before the council.
And we think that has to be coupled with some incentives to build new hotels. Right now, if you were to build...
So you're going to do corporate welfare, which I thought we were opposed to corporate welfare.
Well, first of all, I'm not opposed to government funds being used to intelligently enhance business opportunities in the city. I'm opposed to giving, one of these big Wall Street bank brokerage firms all kinds of breaks, and they leave 10 years later. I think that we should give breaks that are permanently tied to responsibilities and incentives. And by the way, in New York, we do this every day of the week. We give real estate developers massive incentives to build apartment buildings. We give them 20-year tax abatements to build apartment buildings. And I would argue that we should give the same breaks to hotels that are over 350 rooms, that have good banquet facilities.
Why should they get it and other industries or sectors not get it?
Just because we're creating real jobs in a city that thrives and depends on the tourist industry. And unless we're willing to take into account the fact that the market is fractured and broken, and that despite the fact that hotels are more prosperous now than ever, they're disappearing, we will not have a tourist industry, and that would be a disaster for our city.
Before I get to you, Michael, constitutionality of this, I mean, this piece of legislation on its face looks unconstitutional. How do you, it sounds like taking in the classic sense of zoning. I mean, clearly you are precluding individuals from making what the market might bear.
You mean like we do when we landmark a building? You mean like we do when we condemn property? Let me give you an example. On 41st Street and
Yeah,
8th
but not
Avenue,
all hotels are the Plaza.
let me give you a great example.
Go ahead.
On 41st Street and 8th Avenue, right now,
Right.
there's a building being built that's going to house the New York
I
Times.
see it every day.
1.5 million square feet of luxury office buildings. Now, on that block, there were a bunch of thriving small businesses owned and operated by small business people. That real estate was condemned and taken away from those people by the Urban Development Corporation against their will, because Urban Development said it's better for the community to do that.
They're doing eminent domain in Brooklyn for the Nets.
Gave the property to Forest City Ratner,
excuse me.
along with Liberty Bonds.
Okay,
we
No,
built
no,
a
no,
million and a
Peter.
half
They didn't get the
square
Liberty
feet.
bonds. They got the other things.
Oh,
They
so
didn't get
got
the Liberty
other
bonds.
things.
They got the
point,
they got the
Michael,
incentives.
The point is that that takings, if you will, go on all the time, arguably not in the public interest, and what I'm talking about has an amazingly limited impact on the New York City real estate market and amazing benefit on the market.
Okay.
On the whole, I believe our bill is constitutional, will stand up to judicial review, but
And
more importantly,
you get the majority of the council and you get the mayor signing off, or you're going to get an override. One of those.
in my view, the bill will pass.
And the mayor will sign.
And if it's necessary to go there, and in my view, ultimately, the necessary compromises will be made in the bill to make it palatable.
Including what?
The bill should have a sunset provision. The bill should not apply to residential hotels. The bill should not apply to new construction. And the bill should be coupled with some of the tax incentives I talked about.
Okay.
And if all of those things happen, I think we can limit the scope of the bill and pare it down to a point where it becomes acceptable to the general public. One last point.
Go ahead.
On the bill. The mayor has asked, and we have agreed, to postpone hearings on the bill. And the mayor is going to convene a round table with Gifford Miller's help, the mayor, interested parties from real estate. And we're going to sit down and we're going to look at this entire issue and try to find compromises. And rather than mandate a solution, we're going to try to find one through some constructive process. And so it may very well be that this bill will never see the light of day or never be voted on, because enough people believe that there's a reason to have a rational discussion about it and to find solutions.
So the threat of the bill exercises the power that the bill might exercise. I get it.
I think so.
This is a good strategist. We'll talk about that
He's
a little bit
very
more.
good.
Michael, talk about this. What is the nature of the current market? What are the problems? What are the anomalies? And what interventions can government make?
You know, I think something that Peter said about the incentives, that you're right, that there are companies who, the IDA, the Economic Development Corporation, they give them incentives to stay over here. People forget that in 1976, when Trump took over the Commodore Hotel, he received 40-year tax abatement when he did that with a Hyatt. So if you take that into consideration, and then you take the other situation, the Westin Hotel, which was built, which is probably the last large hotel that opened up, that was incentives, because the Times Square incentives. And if you don't put these incentives in place, there is no way that any developer is going to build a new skyscraper hotel. There are a lot of hotels opening up. Small hotels. There are a number of these limited service
Is
hotels.
it enough to absorb all
No,
this
there's no way.
demand?
When you
The
build,
banks don't want to finance them at this stage of the game. It's an amazing phenomenon.
Why?
Despite that, because the banks would much rather finance condominiums because
Yeah, okay.
there's no risk.
Okay, I get it. I get it.
hotel is an operating
I get it.
business. You have to remember there's a big difference between hey, you sell the property, they walk
Makes
away from
economic sense. That's why a lot did it in the first place. I mean, it made economic sense for them to do it.
But you know, something that I think the press failed to bring out in the situation about the rooms, which we discussed previously, why don't you bring out the fact that it's going to be a condo hotel also? In addition to some condo rooms, that they're going to have some large luxury condos, which
Right.
will probably sell for $3,000 a foot. So even with their high cost, even with settling with you, they're still going to make a very good living. But let's address the condo hotel
A
concept.
portion of the agreed upon hotel portion of the new Plaza Hotel when it reopens will be what they call condo hotels.
Right.
They'll be larger than the average hotel room that will be sold to individual owners and investors. Those folks will be allowed to occupy the room for no more than 4 months out of the year. And all the other time, it must be in the rental pool of the hotel. And the owner and the hotel management company split the take, and it operates like a hotel. Now, Trump's Hotel on 59th Street, which is the old GE building, I believe,
The Gulf and Weston
the
building.
Gulf and
Right.
Western building,
Right.
is a condo hotel. And the truth is that most of the rooms in that building are used as a transient hotel 90% of the
So
time.
this is the trend. This is the wave. Evaluate it. Is that a good thing or a bad
Look,
thing?
They're doing that at the St. Regis. Right now, they're taking a number of rooms out of the St. Regis regular hotel, and they're going to sell them as condo hotels. I'm not certain if it's going to be a 4-month situation, but that's going to be. People don't use condo hotels.
It's a creative economic model that limits risk.
From the purchaser's point of view, what's the public impact?
I think it's very positive.
Go ahead.
It spurs development. It creates investment opportunities for small investors who want to buy the individual units. And it keeps the rooms in a rental pool for a considerable period of time each year so they can be used by the general public. So I think as an economic model, it's a very intelligent, very good way to go.
Michael.
I think it's excellent, but I think we're failing to bring out that there are others, because there are timeshare hotels right now in the city. The old hotel on 7th Avenue and 56th Street, they have the Manhattan Club. The Manhattan Club is a time-sharing situation, which is not a condo hotel. It's
similar.
It's similar, but it's not a condo hotel. And then the Hilton has put the Hilton Inns, where you can utilize this on a timeshare mechanism.
So this is a general trend you're saying in at least the New York hospitality and hotel?
No, I think that what it all comes down to is this. The hotel industry is like any other business, and it's an evolving enterprise. And right now, they've come up with some interesting and I think creative ways to finance the construction of hotels or to take money out of existing hotel properties while allowing the hotel companies to operate at a profit. And so timeshares and condo hotels are just the same, are different variations of the same theme.
But the point, Peter, is the timeshare and the condo hotels are only in existing properties. Right now, you don't have any new. Trump was 1999. We're in 2005. There is no new condo hotel being built.
I agree.
So what happens is,
where do they get built, and who builds them, and what are the conditions?
First of all, there were 64,000 hotel rooms in New York City. There are fewer than 2,000 that are either timeshare or condos.
Right.
So this represents a very small portion of the market. Why aren't there more of them? Well, I think the answer is that to build new hotels, particularly in the central business district, which is where they need to be built, is a very expensive proposition. And when developers are faced with the opportunity to either develop a hotel or something else on a parcel of land, they go with the other options because it's easier to finance them and it's less risk.
Yeah.
And the only two major hotels that were built in Midtown Manhattan in the last several years is the Westin, which was built on condemned property at taxpayer expense to a large extent, and the Mandarin, which is in the Time Warner building. And the only reason the Mandarin was built was because when the city RFP'd the property, it was mandated that a hotel be part of it. Otherwise, in my view, those two hotels would not exist today because the land values would have dictated condominiums. Will the future dictate that more hotels will be of mixed use? Yes. And I'll give you some examples. The Ritz-Carlton, which is on Central Park, and the Ritz-Carlton in Lower Manhattan were both mixed-use properties, where approximately 40% of the square footage was built out as condominiums to support, and then there was a beautiful hotel component. And the ultra-luxury condos have access to all the great facilities in the five-star, five-diamond hotel, the health club, the spa, the room service, and so on.
Someplace I couldn't
and so
afford.
what
Which
happens
is the same way. The Mandarin has the same capability.
The
They have the same
developers
benefits.
have the opportunity to make money back on the condo square footage while at the same time having a great hotel. And I think that formula is a formula that's going to be used a lot in the future.
Do you see that as a paradigm?
Yeah, but the problem is we don't have land, okay? Let's understand, in the same way that you said that the Westin was developed, the property in Battery Park City was under a similar land deal. That's how it was done. And then if you take the Mandarin, you had another land deal.
Well, we have land.
Where do we have land?
We have land in a lot of... my union's headquarters occupies one of the trophy locations left in Midtown Manhattan. We own an entire block front from 45th Street to 44th Street on 8th Avenue, 20,000 square feet. We could build a 14-story high building, a 300,000 square foot building on that site. Today, if we wanted to put that out for RFP, a developer that was going to build a hotel or an apartment building or an office building would give us about $30 million for that site. We have been offered 70 by condo developers in the last 30 days.
So you made your point. We buy it. Can I move off this just for a moment? Can we talk politics for a bit? Because
Sure.
I'm a political scientist and I wanted to talk about strategy because this is a great political strategy case. I'm looking at the situation when they buy the hotel and they say they're going to do what they did. There was going to be 105 rooms. The hotel, the public rooms, the famous 6 rooms were endangered. It was problematic. You guys look like you had the bad hand here, that they had the law on their side, they had the bucks, and you guys put together a winning coalition. You had City Hall, both sides of the building, you had the preservationists, you had the media, you had the editorial people, and you had this $2 million campaign.
We had everybody but the sun.
That's exactly right. That's right. Michael.
Wait a second. That's a different person over at the Sun.
Okay. And you guys at least got something. We have to figure out what you got. What was on the table as the hand opened up? What was on the table at the plaza in terms of rooms and your employees?
Okay. First and foremost, we had the plaza. And we should never underestimate what that meant worldwide.
I agree.
It just meant something.
And your ad campaign memories, I thought was brilliant.
Thank
you. The emotive trumped the economic. I mean, clearly, here I am. I got engaged there. I went to my senior college prom. You got married. Lots of people. Go ahead.
If you look at the union movement in New York City, in my opinion...
I want strategy.
I'll get to it. In my opinion, the union that best melds political action with unionism is 1199.
You bet.
And I think that if you look at what they've done over the last decade, their entire political machine has been possible because of one realization. They understand that they need to have a significant war chest in order to finance their battles.
Right.
So what they have done is they've gone to their members and said to their members, they've respected their members enough to understand that they will exercise self-interest. And they've explained to their members the importance of supporting a political action organization. And their members, in unimaginable ways, donate their money willingly to 1199's fund so that they can take on these fights. Last year...
And also they have a first-class phone room in political operation.
But all of that...
Because we don't have all that much time.
It's only possible because of the money.
Absolutely.
Last year, we had a referendum vote in our union where we asked our members, poor people, by and large, to donate $10 a week for 2 years and then $2 additional each month forever to the union's defense fund to raise $25 million immediately by the time our contract expires in 06, and to have an ongoing war chest built so that when the union has a fight, the union can stand toe-to-toe with anybody.
Okay, let's go back. Let's look at the strategy that you employed. Media, TV, internet, print.
Right.
You were on the ground. You had all these rallies. You got all these celebrities. You got the mayor to intervene. The mayor was not, an honest broker in this, it seemed, to everybody.
Disagree. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, he was an honest broker insofar as he didn't take sides, but the mere fact that he brought you guys into the room with a private company, I think, signaled something and meant something.
I think there's also the underdog. The union was the underdog. Let's understand. Here was Elad. If you search the history of Elad, a little company that came over from Israel a number of years ago, who had lots of little interest on an oil business in the Midwest, quietly taking over all the properties over here. Here are the working class, the middle class, the blue-collar people, and it's a very nice story behind it. Okay, these people are going to lose the job, and who's going to move in there? The wealthy. $3,500, $4,000.
I agree with him. Come on, that's where my sympathy. You're probably on the other side.
No, I happen to be on this side.
Oh, okay. No personal attacks.
Right, no personal attacks.
No, this is mine. Okay, so you've got the plaza, you've got media, you put out these ads, the memory ads, TV ads, which pull at the heartstrings. I mean, clearly. So you've got that, but you've got troops on the ground. You're not letting up the pressure. You've got people on the ground, and people on the ground are a powerful weapon because they're loud, they're moving. The threat's implicit, even if there's no threat.
We had First of all, we had the unquestioned desire to see this thing to a successful conclusion. We had the money to finance what really was a multi-level, comprehensive campaign. At one point, for example, we sent 5 of our members on a media tour of Israel.
Wait a minute. We only have 2 minutes. Yes, and you went to London. I mean, this was international in scope.
But if you didn't set up this fund last year for the union contract, because you didn't realize that the plaza was going to be taken over, it was a shock to the entire real estate industry that the plaza was sold.
Well, luck is the residue of design here.
The bottom line is, would we have had the money? Yes. But the point is that, and again, if you look at 1199, you'll see what I'm talking about. If we get into a fight with anybody, I don't care who it is, if it's a matter of matching checkbook against checkbook, we'll go toe-to-toe with any developer in the world if that's what we have to do. We can do that.
Oh, where did you grow up?
Brooklyn.
Oh, where did you grow up?
Brooklyn.
And I'm Queens on the Brooklyn border. I like that. So this is a gauntlet. You will, but you'll also cooperate. Obviously, you'll negotiate, but the bottom line is that you've got the political will and the muscle to at least inflict injury, if not win.
If we,
In conclusion, Michael, excuse me, let's boil it down to one lesson.
Go ahead.
At the end of the day, what happened is this. We came together. The allowed people made a deal. They made a deal that represented fairness and equity to them and to us. At the end of the day, we're going to part company friends, and when they reopen that hotel, we're going to work with them to make the Plaza into the greatest hotel in the world. And this was a win-win-win up and down the line. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to fight with anybody. I will if I have to, and I'm going to be prepared, and the union is going to be prepared. But what I think happened here more than anything else is that everybody involved in this equation understood, when it was all said and done, that we had to do what was right for the city of New York.
Right.
And what was right was to compromise, to save the ballroom, the lobby, the Palm Court, the Oak Room, the Oak Bar.
Jobs for your members.
Jobs for my members. All of those things had to be saved. I mean, at one point, I don't know if you realize it, every handsome cab driver on 59th Street signed up and joined the Save the Plaza Coalition.
Are you kidding me? I loved it. I am praiseworthy of your strategic
and you
efforts.
know what?
Michael, you've got the last word.
When people talk about office space and retail space, they call it the Plaza District. Remember that.
Okay.
The highest price of any building is in the Plaza District.
That's it. Gentlemen, excellent.
Thank you.